For your convenience, you can download the MKBC app to schedule appointments, access your donor portal, and complete the iScreen questionnaire. The MKBC app is available on the App Store and Google Play. The following episode contains content that some may consider sensitive in nature. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Your Blood, Their Hope, a Miller-Keystone Blood Center podcast. We now return to part 2 of our interview with Laura Hoffert. Please enjoy.
And then they put me on an ambulance, and they lights and sired me to Temple University, and then wheeled me right into emergency surgery to fix the GI bleed. So then I stayed at Temple University Hospital. I stayed there for about 2 weeks, and then they were able to transfer me back to Good Shepherd Rehabilitation Specialty Hospital.
Okay.
In Bethlehem. Actually,
okay.
right here.
Yeah, right
off
near
Fayetteville Road. That's where I was. So I came there, and they were trying to wean me off the vent. That was why I had to go there. You know, that was a very long process to wean yourself off of the vent. They had started. Now, still at this time, I couldn't move. They had not started PT or OT. But they had started it when I went to Good Shepherd. And so every morning that I had PT or OT, I would have to get blood drawn. And on my board in my hospital bed, or my hospital room, it had my hemoglobin results. And it had a couple other blood information, I guess, blood test information, I guess you could say. And so my hemoglobin would have to be 7.6. If it was anything below 7.6, I was not allowed to get PT or OT that day. So wow. I would watch that number come back, and I would pray for it to be above 7.6 so that I could get physical therapy, because I so badly wanted to be able to move again.
Right.
So I was starting to be able to move my arms, and I was relearning how to write my name, and because I wanted to be able to text, and I wanted to be able to contact my family members, and I wanted to just start feeding myself.
Right. And were you talking at this point? Were you able to kind of talk or communicate?
So back when I was at Temple, they actually put this cap on my trach. And it was that cap that made it so that I could talk. And I'll never forget, and my brother and me, we still laugh about this still to this day. So when I was at Temple, they put the cap on because they wanted for me to practice talking with a trach in. And I started talking, and I looked at my brother, and I was like, I sound like E.T. I was like, am I going to sound like E.T. forever? And my brother just started laughing, and the speech lady just started laughing, and she was like, no, you're not going to sound like E.T. forever. So
funny.
So there was a cap that had to go on it in order for me to speak, and then you weren't allowed to sleep with the cap on, so I would have to take on and off the cap, in order to speak.
And try to sleep and have people come and wake you up in the middle of the night.
Absolutely. Around the clock. And, I had to have people bathe me. I had to have people feed me because I still couldn't move at this point.
All those insecurities goes right out the window.
Absolutely.
When you just want a shower or just want some good food.
Absolutely. It's a very humbling experience having some stranger that you don't know bathe you and feed you, basically my life, I was just very vulnerable, I have a whole new respect for nurses and nurses' aides and, CNAs and all those different letter people out there. Anybody
OTs,
that works,
PTs,
anybody that works in healthcare, They are a special, special, special breed. They really are, and they've got to love people. So I really, my heart, my everything goes out to nurses and to all healthcare professionals because, they're dealing with it all, and then here I am just laying there just being thankful for what they're doing for me,
Absolutely.
So they just continued to help me get stronger. And then my gallbladder started acting up, so then I had to have that removed while I was there at that hospital.
We are also going through a pandemic, if you didn't know that was going on, but we are also going through a huge pandemic during that time. So
yes, which actually brings me to my next thing I wanted to talk about, which was very, very tough. So COVID hit. I was hearing about it, right? So my son was coming in, my family was coming in. I had people from church coming in to visit me. Especially when I got back up here to Bethlehem. People were driving down to Philly, but let's be honest, that's a tough drive.
Yeah.
It's not an easy drive. So when I got to Bethlehem, I was getting a lot of visitors, and I loved it. I just enjoyed seeing people that I haven't seen in a long time, and Good Shepherd fitted me with headphones and a microphone. So I could actually hear people's conversations. 'Cause remember, I was still deaf at this time. I still couldn't hear. So when I got there, they put these headphones on me, and people had to talk into a microphone almost like this, except a little smaller, so that I could hear. And then I can actually have a conversation with someone that really lifted my spirits. You know what I mean? Like being around friends and family. And then they kept talking about this COVID, and my son was like, yeah, school's closed. And I was like, what is going on? And then the nurse came in that night, and she said, we are no longer allowing visits. And that was tough. That was the toughest part of
your recovery.
Yes, because then everything just went to phone calls and text messages. And the only time I would see someone would be a nurse, or it would be when they delivered my food. And you don't realize how much you need that human connection, So you really build up a good rapport with your nurses and your all the people working with you, because I would look so forward to them coming in. And from there, I was able to get strong enough to go to Good Shepherd Rehabilitation Hospital in Allentown.
Okay.
And so I got transferred there, and that was very, very high intense therapy. But it was fun, and I loved it, and the PTs and the OTs were absolutely amazing. I highly recommend Good Shepherd, although they moved now to Center Valley. They're not in Allentown anymore. But I celebrated my 36th birthday in the hospital, up at Good Shepherd. And it was raining that day, and my family wasn't allowed in because of COVID. So they actually came to outside the window, and they sang to me, and I was able to visit with them through the window. So that was a birthday that I will always remember.
Don't need to celebrate it again.
No,
that same
not
way.
at all.
Not at all. That's, I think, how everybody felt, during 2020. But even more so for you as you were just recovering and needing that personal
support.
touch and that, that support from people.
Yeah, so I just continued to get stronger. They wanted to get me to the point where I was at least walking with a walker before they sent me home. So I was working very, very hard towards that goal. I had to relearn how to shower myself, how to dress myself.
Those buttons are killer.
They wrote zippers,
buttons. Those are, whew, yeah. Just pull them on.
Yeah, right.
Just pull on the pants.
But I had to learn how to transfer myself from a bed to a wheelchair. So it's all those things that these little things that you take for granted, that you can't do anymore, but thank God for the medical world and all these, there's things that I can use to put my shoes on, to put my socks on, it was just, it opened up my eyes, to a whole new world of what, people go through, when they are recovering from such a big, traumatic injury.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing just part of your story and how you've overcome this entire journey. I want to just say, what motivated you to continue to move through this? What gave you strength? What was a motivator? How did you get through this point?
Well, I would definitely have to say the first thing would be my faith, just my relationship with Jesus Christ. He was with me the entire time. I felt his presence, in the room when I needed him. Sometimes I couldn't even get the words together to pray because I'd be in so much pain. And, I was on a lot of medications. I was all over the place. And so, I would just say his name. I would just say, Jesus, Jesus. And the peace and the calmness that fell over me, I knew he was there with me. I would also have to say, my family, like I said, I had a 16-year-old son at the time, and, just wanting to be there for him, wanting to see him graduate, and, just to see where his future leads, and, be around for my grandchildren in the future, and, getting to see my nieces and my nephews grow up and be a part of their life. And, we have a very close family. And so I really just wanted to fight for them, so.
Yeah. And, throughout this journey, you talked about the need for having platelets and plasma and even blood transfusions. If you could talk to the people who donated blood and platelets for you, what would you tell them? I know that you needed so many units. What would you tell them?
The first thing I would say would just be thank you, for your selfless act of donating blood and platelets. It may seem like something very small that they did, but donating the blood and the platelets helped me in my time of need, and it was a big part in saving my life. I know I had previously mentioned about how I couldn't get PT or OT if my hemoglobin was 7.6, and then they would have to give me a blood transfusion in order for me to, go to PT and OT. And when your hemoglobin is that low, you feel like crap. You are tired, you're lethargic. But when you get that blood transfusion, you feel amazing. You feel like a whole new person. It's great. And then also, in order to get my trach surgery, in order to get me off the vent, my platelets needed to be at a certain number. And because I had leukemia, my platelets were 0. So they gave me 24-hour continuous platelets in order to bring the count up high enough so that I could get that surgery. So if it wasn't for people donating their blood and their platelets and their plasma, I wouldn't have been able to do PT. I wouldn't have been able to do OT. I wouldn't have been able to get surgeries that I needed in order to save my life. So I would definitely say, thank you for giving me a second chance at life. I wouldn't be here without you.
That's amazing. And it doesn't take too long to do. What would you tell someone who might be scared to donate blood or platelets?
So yeah, being scared to donate blood, it's very real. I know some people are scared of needles. They're scared of blood. They might be scared that it hurts, but I would tell them, not to focus on that. Focus on the purpose that you're donating. Focus on the people who you're helping that need the blood that they're donating. Think about how their blood possibly is saving another person's life. I had blood cancer, which required a lot of, blood transfusions and, like I said, platelets and plasma and, so many that I couldn't even count the number of units that I got. But there's a lot of situations where people may need blood for other reasons, like car accidents or different traumas, so we all can at any point in our life be the recipient of a blood transfusion, so I would say don't let the fear stop you from saving a life.
Yeah. Isn't there like a baseball quote that's like, don't let the fear of striking
out? Yes.
Yeah.
There is. Don't let the fear of striking out make you not swing or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I agree with that. I think that people get scared because they're afraid of needles or afraid of just if it's going to hurt. And we always just tell them, like, we'll be there to listen to you and to help you go through that. And like, if you bring a friend with you to distract you, to not look at what they're doing, it goes by so fast. And you get some awesome snacks too.
I was just gonna say, don't you get like free snacks and drinks?
Free snacks and drinks. Yeah, you get to
People
sit
should
there.
come just for that.
Yeah, I know. And our staff is really friendly. So even just to sit there in a chair for platelets, it takes about 90 minutes to about 120 minutes. So it does take a little bit longer to donate platelets, but it's wonderful because platelets have a shelf life of 7 days. And so you can go ahead and donate every 8 days. We say every 8 days to 2 weeks. So we just had actually somebody who donated, and he was a 75-gallon donor, and he donates every 2 weeks.
That's
and
awesome.
He was able to hit 75 gallons.
75 gallons. That's a lot.
That's a lot. We were looking at we have a 50-gallon drum that he signed for his 50-gallon donor. And celebration. And so he goes, well, now I need to add 25 more gallons on top of that. I was like, yeah, it's amazing to see just a visual of how many platelets. And I mean, that's how many platelets you got.
That's probably how many I needed in order to get the surgery.
If not more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But think about how many lives that guy's saving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely.
And you said 90 to 120 minutes. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's a Netflix movie right there.
Absolutely.
Come in, throw a Netflix movie on, Netflix and chill, and donate blood.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
I love it. Save a life.
Save a life. Netflix, chill, and save a life.
There you go. I think I got a new t-shirt coming.
There you go. That's great. And so your journey has been just an amazing testimony of who you are. So tell me, how's life? What's going on now? Can they, how do they deem you?
So I'm currently in remission, which is awesome. I still struggle with some ongoing health issues due to everything that I've been through. I still, at the age of, I'm going to be 40. So at the age of 40, I still have to rely on a walker to walk at times because the chemo and just how sick I was damaged all of the nerves in my legs. So I have neuropathy in both of my legs and feet, which impact my walking. I got drop foot in my left foot, due to just the muscle atrophy.
So what do you do for that? Is there anything that you can do?
So I just wear a brace on my
Okay.
left leg to help me walk. I still go to just PT, no longer OT. So I just still go to PT twice a week just to try to continue to help me get stronger and to walk. And so, yeah, I mean, I got to see my son graduate, and, he's, working full time now. And so, I was here for that, and which is amazing. So, life is going good.
And you have a cute puppy that you got.
I do have a cute puppy. Hope is a white boxer, and I'm absolutely in love with her, but she can be very naughty at times and very stubborn.
But I feel like that is probably helpful in your recovery as well, because she gives you that hope and that.
Yes. And so at one point, my family had gotten T-shirts made, and the slogan was "Never Give Up Hope," and it had like the leukemia ribbon. And so that's where Hope got her name, was from, never give up hope, through your journey, whatever your sickness or whatever you're struggling with. Just never give up hope. Keep plugging along.
I love that. I love that, especially with what our podcast is called. So, well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
No, I think we covered it all. Just thank you for everybody who donates blood.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for coming out. And if you want to come in and donate, this will be if this is your first time donating, or if you've donated many, many, many times. Feel free to come onto our website at www.giveapint.org and schedule your donation. Thank you so much for listening to Your Blood, Their Hope.
Your Blood, Their Hope is a production of Miller-Keystone Blood Center. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The views expressed by hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Miller-Keystone Blood Center or any of its officials. The theme music for Your Blood, Their Hope is YKWIM by Harris Heller. For more information, please reach out to us at giveapint.org or at 800-BE-DONOR. That is 800-223-6667.